Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another video. This time we're at Bramber Castle, situated in West Sussex and located in the village of the same name, and what was once a Norman Motte and Bailey castle. The bare-bone remains of Bramber might give you a small, uninspiring picture of what once stood here, but what there is here is an abundance of interesting history, and that's what we would love to walk and show you today. The ruins of Bramber Castle are significant in our county's history, and if you are in the area, they are well worth a visit. After all, William the Conqueror left his mark here. The castle is one of the first Norman castles to be created shortly after the Norman invasion of 1066, and was one of the many that sprung up across Sussex as a display of the wealth, strength and power of the new Norman regime. It was built by William de Braose, who constructed the Motte and Bailey Castle at Bramber in 1070, along with the Norman church, and most of the surviving masonry dates from around these times. William was a baron who accompanied William the Conqueror and fought at Hastings. He was then rewarded with land in Sussex, and he built Bramber as a centre of administration, and to guard the important port of Stenning, which is close by. Except for a period of confiscation during the reign of King John, Bramber Castle remained in the ownership of the de Braose family up until the line died out in 1324. During Norman times, the coastline would have been much further inland, and at high tide the water would have reached the castle walls. Despite very little surviving, the basic layout of some areas of the castle can still be identified. The most prominent feature is the large rugged lump of stone, and this is all that remains of the gatehouse tower. Still standing to almost its full height, a single window and some floor joist holes are clearly visible within the structure. It stands at 70 foot tall and 5 foot thick, made from flint and chalk, but probably encased in stone to make it unconquerable. Beyond the gatehouse are the existing foundations of what is believed to have been living quarters and a guardhouse. The dressed pillars of an entrance can still be made out, but the bulk of the remaining walls now consists of only the basic rough stone infill, the better quality stone dressing having long since been quarried away for use elsewhere. Lying to the north of the gatehouse is the original castle motte, its earthen mound rising to a height of some 30 foot, and it's now covered in trees. This motte was a man-made hill, but not by the Normans, however. It was much earlier than that. The Saxons had their stronghold here at Bramber, well before the Normans invaded. A short distance away is a section of the curtain wall, and again this survives to a reasonable height, around up to 10 foot in places. Just north of the South Downs and not far from the pretty town of Stenning, Bramber used to hold an important position on the busy River Adur, as it made its way to Stenning's port. The river has long since silted up and changed course, but clues as to Bramber's historical significance still remain. Apart from its role in Norman history, legend has it that Elizabeth I may have stayed in Bramber at St Mary's, which was a privately owned house, as part of a tour through the south of England. During the Civil War, Bramber was a parliamentary stronghold, and in December of 1643, a skirmish took place nearby when a royalist force unsuccessfully tried to secure the bridge over the river. It's believed that this may have been when Charles II narrowly avoided capture as he pushed through the crowds in disguise and tried to make his escape to the coast along what is now called Monarch's Way. We've mentioned already that Bramber sits on what is now Monarch's Way. It also joins the Downs link and is a short distance from the South Downs Way, making it the perfect destination for some walking if you're interested. It's said that the most haunted village in Sussex is Bramber, and Bramber Castle has its own haunted stories. There was once a lord of the castle, so the story goes, who so far forgot his Norman blood as to marry a village girl. She continued, however, to meet her former lover and sweetheart, a young man of her own age and social station, by way of a secret passage that led down from the castle and into the village. Her husband discovered this deceit, and the young man was to be dealt with. He made sure that the young man would be trapped in the passageway, and there walled up alive. The location of the entrance to the passageway is a matter of some dispute. It may have been in the garden of the Lavender Cottage, or in the grounds of St Mary's Priory at the far end of the village, but nobody still doubts that the young man's cries aren't still heard throughout the village and the castle. Yet the saddest of Bramber's ghosts are the ghosts of children, the two children of Sir William de Braose, the lord of the castle in the reign of King John, who were seized together with their mother as hostages for their father's loyalty. Their mother, who was the daughter of the Earl of Hereford and herself believed to have some skill in the magic arts, had refused to yield them peacefully into the custody of an evil monarch. They were taken to Windsor Castle, where they died, and it is said of starvation. But each year, just before Christmas, these two homesick little ghosts return to their native village and go with their hands outstretched from door to door, as if they're begging for their share of good things of the season. They have also been sighted walking around the remains of the gatehouse with their heads down and silent. Just below the castle sits the delightful little church of St Nicholas, built at the same time as the castle, making this the oldest Norman church in Sussex, and still intact, in which we can wonder today. It was originally built for secular canons, but by the mid-13th century it was given over to the parish church of Bramber. The church was used as a gun emplacement for attacking the castle during the Civil War in 1642. And was ruinous by the mid-18th century, but it was then thankfully restored in the 19th century to what we see today. The original nave still stands along with the chancel arch, and the overall quality and finish of the stonework really does suggest that the church was built by Norman masons who were brought to England to work on William's castle. Some of the interesting features inside are the capitals that support the chancel arch, carved in a rustic Norman style, with heads and a panel depicting the biblical story of the fox and geese. This is worth looking out for if you do get the time. Wandering around the church, it seems such a quiet and beautiful setting, and the church itself is quite atmospheric too. Commissioned by the Reverend of the time, Thomas Green, who died in 1789 and is commemorated with his wife and daughter in one of the monuments in the church. The monument features a circular plaque with a seated woman above a rectangular inscription. Inside the church is a fine arch with two original medieval carvings on its capitals. The left column is said to be one of only 3 examples of Norman 11th century figured sculptures in the country, and the right column carving is most likely 14th century and has a Maltese cross which associates the church with the Knights Templars who occupied the village around that time. It's a really nice walk up to the remains of this centuries-old castle. The views out over the landscape is just truly breathtaking. The great scenery and quiet ambience is greatly appreciated, and the site is taken care of by the National Trust, open at all reasonable hours. It's a wonderful way to spend a gorgeous English day. There are plenty of trails for hiking and many other places to see around this quiet little village. So that's it for this video, and we really hope that you've enjoyed watching our explore at Bramber Castle. If you have, please be sure to hit that like button, click the notification bell so you never miss a video, and consider supporting us over on our Patreon, where you will get to decide what we do next and find out exciting updates before others. Or you can support us here on YouTube by hitting that like button or clicking the join button and becoming a member of the channel and part of the PIM family. We want to say a big thank you to those supporting us. So we'll see you on the next one. Till next time,